Friday's Breeders' Cup card of two-year-old races will conclude with the prestigious Breeders' Cup Juvenile, and it is an absolutely terrific race. And you know what? The best way to play it is to play it through NYRA-Bets. Head on over to NYRABets.com for more information. A special new member bonus for Breeders' Cup weekend. Bet 200, get 250. This will be available through Saturday's card. The promo code is BC250, and this Juvenile contains some very heavy hitters. The 6 Complexity, he'll be representing the East Coast. The 9 Game Winner representing the West Coast, Chad Brown against Todd Pletcher, and Complexity was extraordinarily impressive in taking our prestigious Grade 1 Champagne back at Belmont Park in early October. He ran them off their feet, and every horse who tried to chase him tired from chasing, and Complexity was like the Energizer Bunny. He just kept on running. Now, an excellent performance by the second-place finisher, Code of Honor, who's back to play as well for trainer Shug McGay. Code of Honor stumbled to start. It wasn't a severe stumble that took him out of the race, but what it did was it enabled him to drop back. Now, that Eric Cancel gave an absolutely terrific ride that day. Now, John Velasquez, much more experienced riding this Breeders' Cup, and he must overcome an outside post, but he's a deep closer. He showed speed in his debut, but he ran very well in the Champagne, but Complexity easily beat him that day. And Complexity is going to try to do exactly in the Breeders' Cup what he did in the Champagne, which is play come and catch me. Distance a question, 2 turns a question. They are all big questions. But talent is not a question. Complexity is extremely good, but so is the 9 Game Winner going out for trainer Bob Baffert. You got to love that in these Breeders' Cup races. East Coast, West Coast, it's great to have these horses squaring off. And Game Winner is a horse that's going to have no problem with distance. In fact, probably the longer they go going down the road, the better he's going to get. And it's nice to see Gary and Mary West having a top horse like this. Of course, West Coast, we representing them in the Breeders' Cup Classic as well. He is, while he was close to the pace in this race, he's not going to challenge Complexity in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. Bob Baffert's too smart to do that. He knows that that would be a mistake. He has to believe that his talent, as well as his ability to go 2 turns and go longer distances, will be enough to overcome Complexity in the stretch. It would be a bad mistake for him to be too forwardly placed in this race, and I don't think he's fast enough early to compete with Complexity. Look to see him in the 4th, 5th, or 6th spot early in this race, maybe even a little farther back. They are the 2 major players, but Code of Honor is a player as well. Now, 3 horses contesting this race ran in the Breeders' Futurity at Keeneland. The race was won easily by Knicks Go, the long shot, and Signal Man ran 2nd, and Standard Deviation finished 3rd in here. But the only horse that you can take out of this race is Standard Deviation for trainer Chad Brown, the same connections as Complexity. And it's nice to have a speed and a closer. Now, some will say, well, Standard Deviation, he got there. Why didn't he close and pick up 2nd here? Well, he lost position early. He broke from the far outside post. He got into a little trouble early. It took him out of the spot he wanted to be in. He was wide the entire way. The 1st and 2nd finishers were on the lead and close up, both racing on the rail the entire way. He had far and away the toughest trip. And he's a horse that can take advantage if this race should fall apart late. So he's a very good complement to Complexity. Now, it's hard to see him beating Game Winner in here unless Game Winner completely fails to show up. But he is a horse that has a chance to get a piece, and that is Standard Deviation at a big price. How about Mind Control, who did not make our Champagne, but he was very impressive, upsetting the field in the Hopeful at Saratoga. The problem for him is that he draws outside Complexity, and he may not even be as fast as Complexity early, and what is he going to do in here? Because at the end of the day, this was a very fair track, so I don't think he was greatly helped by being inside on closing day at Saratoga, but it was actually a fairly moderate pace. Now, the horse he beat, Mucho, finished 2nd. It's a talented horse for trainer Bill Mott. He was sidelined for the rest of the year as they wait for next year's big races. I just think Mind Control, what's he going to do? Put away Complexity on the front end and then hold off the closers? Good luck to him. And not having a race since the 1st day in September, I don't think does him any favors. How about the horse coming up from Florida, Well-Defined, for trainer Kathleen O'Connell? He was very impressive and ran a 91 buyer, easily defeating somewhat lesser foes down at Gulfstream Park. But this wasn't a case of a horse that's a mediocrity beating a bad field. He has been running fast figures in his last 2 races, and he's talented. But once again, he's more in a chasing type situation. So he's going to be chasing around Complexity. He's going to pass that one and hold off the closers. Have to improve a lot to do it. It is a battle of East Coast and West Coast. And okay, I'm going to admit it this time. I'll admit when I got a little bit of an East Coast bias. I'm rooting for the home team in Complexity. Don't get me wrong. Complexity and Game Winner, they're at most at best for complexity, probably on even ground. They are two talented racehorses, and no ticket I play in any multi-race bet will not have both of them on it. I think the Code of Honor is a big player in this race, especially if it falls apart, but I think Standard Deviation will be a much bigger price, and he's eligible to pick up P-Piece as well. But it's a battle of East versus West in the Breeders' Cup Juveniles, the way it should be. And what better way to play these races than to play them through Naira Bets? Head on over to Naira Bets. Bet 200, get 250. If you're not a member, become a member. It's a special Breeders' Cup new member bonus. Use promo code BC250 and play all these Breeders' Cup races and all the races through the industry's ADW, Naira Bets.